this at track number 9. Stay on the right track and let your light shine. Step by step, reach for what's true. Track number 9, your greatness is waiting for you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Sorry about the technical. Hey, Crystal. Hi, Crystal Jackson Parker. Anyway, I'm sorry about those technical difficulties. We're here now, and nothing's going to stop us from getting to you. You ever heard that song? Ain't no mountain high enough. Good morning, Mr. Dawkins. Good morning. Hey, cuz. Anyway, guys, today is going to be Sister Cheryl from the West Coast. They say it's the best coast. Let's go. But this is going to be a what we like to call a mashup. Gail Evans, good morning, Sister Gail. This is a mashup Saturday. This means that my cousin is here. Hi, Lolita. But what we're going to do is we're going to just talk about a few topics, right? Because there's so much happening in the world and it almost feels like a distraction. Everything is happening and it keeps us from being focused. So what I want to do is help us get on the right track and help bring our focus to a few things that's going on that I think really bear our attention. One of the things I think that we should pay close attention to on a international level, because we're going to go international, national, and then we'll bring it down to the local level. But the one thing I think we should be paying attention to is the hantavirus. Now, this virus, suppose has started on a cruise ship, and they say that the virus itself have a 40% chance of mortality. That means that the person who catches it is 40% likely to demise. At least that's what they say so far, right? And compared to the coronavirus, believe it or not, we lost millions of people, but the survival rate was actually, I think what they said was maybe 0.8% or something like that. Because lots of people have had coronavirus, even though we've lost millions. But think about the amount of people who were actually affected by the coronavirus, right? So the hantavirus was happened on a cruise ship, and it happened that 18 passengers from the cruise ship was quarantined. And they were quarantined when they got back to the United States. They sent them to Omaha, Nebraska. And I wanted to talk about it simply because the way that the Center for Disease Control handles things is it sometimes seems like it's detrimental to the survival of human beings because we have global and international trade. Because at one time, whatever you had or whatever you made had to come from pretty much locally. But once you have the steam engine, once you have the ships, and once you have the trains that can actually go and get those things, you can order stuff from China, you can order stuff from Taiwan, from Mexico, from Russia. You can order items from all over the world. And that sets up international trade. And viruses and stuff travel because the hantavirus comes from rodents, rats, mice. It comes from rodents. And God knows we got a terrible rodent problem here in Baltimore. So when those rodents get on top of crates and get and start having droppings and they urinate, that stuff travels. So if you have a rodent that has that disease in it, and it is in a cargo plane, and you got a plane or you got a plane or a boat that's full of items, that stuff is traveling on the boxes. So because we have this international trade and because we have the global trade, not only do the freight travel, the items, the chairs, the medications, the televisions, the cell phones, it travels, but also diseases travel. Diseases travel. And if you don't have a scientist or people who have studied this stuff for many, many years and are able to help contain that thing and figure out how can we trace it. They did that trace contacting. So what they will do is everybody that you came in contact with might have to be tested. Good morning, Miss Bennett. Natasha Bennett is here. Good morning. But that, trace contacting that they did with the virus, that the coronavirus has to happen. So now we are here with the hantavirus, a virus that's even more deadly. But I guess the issue is, and I really want to hear from you guys because it's just me and you and a wonderful conversation for an hour. And this is a chance for you to really get into that chat. And the producers will make sure that they slow it down so that I can actually read your comments. Eventually, we will have a phone line where you guys can actually call in. And if you are somewhere in front of a computer and you have a good connection, we might invite you into the studio for a few minutes so that you can be with me and the listening audience and you can share your thoughts on these topics. But I guess one of the things that I had become concerned with is because they have told these people to just quarantine. And what they do is they call them and check in and say, hey, is your ass in the house? They say, yeah, I'm at home. And that's it. They don't necessarily do like stringent, keeping them inside. And I think the reason is because the director of the pandemic center at Brown University, and her name is Jennifer Nuzzo, she says that she's actually stunned at the approach that they're taking. I read it in the New York Times article about the acting director for the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. His name is Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. And also the Secretary of Health, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We all know about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and some of the things that he had espoused. But they both had suggested when Corona was running rampant to just let it spread. They said, well, don't do anything about it, just let it spread. And all of the people who are healthy will survive. And all of the people who have high blood pressure, all of the people who are, have a lot of weight on them, then they'll just die. That was their approach. And some of them called it herd immunity, I think. But that was their approach to, oh man, my Aunt Bernie is here. Good morning. I love you. But that was their approach to the coronavirus. And thank God that before the current administration had gotten in there, then, it was, hey, Angie Sweetwater is here. Good morning. That it was being contained, and people who had worked in infectious diseases, like Anthony Fauci, had worked in infectious diseases for years, was able to figure out, how we can contain it. Imagine if we did not get the coronavirus under control. I mean, it just took America by storm. In New York City, I don't know if you guys recall, because sometimes we tend to forget. It's so much that happens in our world and so much on the news cycle. And that's their plan too, trust me. They inundate you with so much news that the news that happened last week, you'll forget it because we're on to the next tragedy or on to the next disaster. But the concern is that Robert F. Kennedy and the people that he have around them would not be prepared or know how to handle a hantavirus. And I wanted to start that conversation off is because people in the United States, sometimes we just think that the United States is the entire world. And what happens in different parts of the world affect us as well. And the hantavirus is one example of how a disease can start it was Wuhan, China, where they claim that the coronavirus, COVID, had started over there in the wet market. And in that wet market, they were selling like bats, and because they eat animals and stuff, right? And what has happened nowadays is that the diseases that you find in animals, they are jumping species. Some of this stuff will only be in a chicken. You know what I mean? Like the not the H1N1, but whatever that virus is that kill all the damn chickens. And next thing you know, your Popeyes 4-piece is $35. You go to Popeyes and you get a 4-piece. They say that'd be $35.88. And that's because, when they get that damn flu, that flu that kills the chickens, it wipes out all of them, because unfortunately they have them all crammed in this space and whatever. So all of us might want to consider being vegetarians. I'm telling you, it's getting pretty bad, and we might want to consider how can Baltimore get the rat population lowered, because the hantavirus comes from rat droppings. It comes from rodents. And if you think about history, I think they call it the bubonic plague or the black plague, but it happened in Europe, and it came again from rodents. Some kind of way the rodents had did something, and it almost wiped out all of the daggone people. Thank you, brother. He says, congratulations on your latest accomplishments, and thank you for fighting for freedom, because of those of you who don't know, freedom is not free. Thank you, Jerome. And that's true. That's how it feels. It feels like freedom is not free. And just to go off a little bit, man. Hey, Miss Gwen, how you doing? She said, has this virus ever been detected in Baltimore due to the large rodent and our large population? So far, thank God, Miss Gwen, the hantavirus so far, at least that's what they have shared, has not been detected here in Baltimore, right? But I will tell you that the hantavirus came back to the United States from people that was on that ship, and they took those people to Omaha, Nebraska. They are now at Omaha, Nebraska, when they brought that stuff back here, and thank God that they detected it. In fact, I don't know if you guys heard, but 3 people died. Hey, Sister Denise, how you doing? Oh, she said I got her vote. Good. I am running for Democratic State Central Committee. Praise God. Everybody at 40th, if you don't vote for me, I'm going to threaten you like Donald Trump. Nah, I ain't going to threaten nobody. Your vote is free. But yes, I am running for the Democratic State Central Committee in the 40th District. And many of you who have gotten your ballots in the 40th, you'll see my name on there. I would like to have your vote, but if not, it's cool. We still be cool. But I was saying that the hantavirus hadn't been detected in Baltimore. However, there has been an outbreak. Hey, Brother Marion Dixon Bay, good morning. Much love and affection, brother. Hey, Marion Dixon Bay. But there has been an outbreak in some of these houses. I'm not going to call the place out, but one of my good friends was in one of these buildings, a large building over East Baltimore, and some of the people got Legionnaire's disease. She was just in a hospital for months. She was just in a hospital for months. That's what I couldn't think of. That's what it was that almost wiped a European population out. It was Legionnaire's disease, and it comes from rodents. It comes from, and it's in the air, it's in the mist. And they think that she caught it because when it was coming through the air filters, through the vents. So if the rodents are traveling all through the walls and through the vents and whatnot, the moisture in the air from the air conditioner, from the AC, from the air conditioning system almost killed her. I hope she got a good lawyer. But listen to me. Here in Baltimore, East Baltimore, in one of them buildings, you find this stuff in senior buildings too. I wish Sarah Matthews was on here, where if they don't have that rodent population under control, then it could possibly have what an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease. That stuff will kill you. It'll take you out. So yeah, to answer your question, Ms. Gwen, it hasn't been detected here, but God knows we have to figure out how to get rid of these rodents. Baltimore City have what they call a rat rub out. Rat rub out is a group of guys that work for the city that go around. If you put in a 311 complaint about rodents, then they supposed to come to your community and try to figure out where they burrowing at, if they under the ground, where they going, and try to figure out how to contain them. But one thing that hinders us is people constantly dump trash and garbage all over the place. And it's a feeding ground for them. If the city was cleaner and people would be more responsible and not dump trash and dirt or sit their trash bags out there, get a damn trash can. The city gives them away for free. For free. Get a trash can. But anywho, that's on international news. And that's just to say how what happens in the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is in Iraq. I mean, in Iran. They done shut that bad boy down, and the ships can't come through. And because the ships can't come through, the merchandise cannot get to us. So when you go into Walmart and you see all of those empty shelves, hey, brother Ronnie Smith is here. That's my main man. If you need some detailing done, or if you want to get yourself in shape and lose this roll, like I got a roll on me, Ronnie, I'm gonna call you as soon as I get a couple dollars. I got two mean rolls on the side of me that I need to get rid of, but he is an excellent personal trainer. Help me get rid of these rolls, brother Ronnie. But I was saying that when we look at the news, and sometimes, we got issues ourselves, we're trying to pay our bills, trying to make ends meet, but always know and remember that whatever's happening on the other side of the world, it will impact you right here in Baltimore, on Pennsylvania Avenue, on Lawn Street, on Greenmount Avenue, out there with my man at Harford County. It don't even matter. It will affect you. So that's why it is important to have leadership that understands how the world operates and how it will affect the American public. It's important. Now we're going to bring it down a notch. We're going to go to some national news. National news right here in this country, in America. I want to put your sights on something that Shorty always say, and he gets on my nerves. I'm telling you, he know it too. And I don't always agree with him at all. But one thing that he do say is that racism persists because of Black cooperation. And that means that a lot of the stuff would not be happening to, Ebola travel restrictions. Yes, ma'am. But a lot of the stuff wouldn't even be happening in, people of color communities, Black communities, Hispanic communities, just people of color, period, especially Black communities. It would not be happening if we didn't have people like Steven from Django. I don't know if you remember Samuel Jackson's role in that movie when he was sitting up there with Massa, and how he, worked against his people to be favorable with the character that Leonardo DiCaprio played in Django. And we got some people that's like that. They will look after them own selves and associate themselves almost like a Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome, in case you don't know, is when a person, capture you and you become like that person. The biggest example of the Stockholm syndrome is a Caucasian lady named Patty Hearst. Patty Hearst was kidnapped by the Sandinista army in the 70s, and she was the heiress of the Hearst dynasty. They own all of these newspapers, all of this media, and the family was filthy rich. So the people kidnapped her and wanted to extort the family and get some money. Well, after she had been with the Sandinista army for so long, Patty Hearst herself became a bank robber. And she started buying into the values of what the Sandinista army represents. And that's how some people are. You are captive in a system that holds you hostage, and you eventually start to think like the people who are holding you hostage. You start to buy into it. And this next lady, that's kind of like what it feels to me, and I don't know her. I only know what I've seen and what I heard. Now, I originally got this story from a talk radio show that I listened to on WEAA, a sister named Dr. Kay Whitehead. Awesome, awesome. Doctor's awesome. I was listening to it, and she shared about a woman named Kay Coles James. Kay Coles James. I'm going to bring up a picture of her first, and then I'm going to go into her background just a little bit. Can we bring that information up about Kay Coles James? Okay, this is Kay Coles James. And as you can see, it says that she's an American public official who served as Secretary of the Commonwealth of Virginia from January 2022 to August 2023, and as the Director of the United States of Personnel Management under President George W. Bush from 2001 to 2005. Previous to OPM appointment, she served as Virginia Secretary of Health and Human Services under then George Allen. Then she was the Dean of Regents, Regent University. She is the president and founder of Gloucester Institution. It goes on. And down the bottom there, it says on December 19th, 2017, she was named president of the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank. She is the first African American and the first woman to hold the position. On March 2021, she announced she was resigning from the position. And when she resigned, that's good. I appreciate you. When she resigned, the person who took over for the Heritage Foundation, his name is Kevin Roberts. Kevin Roberts is a Caucasian guy who has a PhD degree in African American studies. And that's why I always tell you that these people study you. They study you. In order for them to do the things they do, they have to study you. And Kay Coles is a prime example of how the system gets manipulated. Kay Coles is married to a guy named Charles E. James Sr. He was in the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs from 2001 to 2009 under George Bush. He returned to direct the Office of Civil Rights, 2017, in the United States Department of Transportation. And what I'm trying to get at is that these African American people sit in those conservative spaces, the evangelical spaces, who have put together Project 2025. And what it appears is that these folks have served in conservative government. And they, because they are African Americans, it wouldn't, when they say, Clarence Thomas or this lady would say something like, well, I think that if a person is poor and don't have a place to live, he's a vagabond, and he should either go to convict leasing or return him back into slavery, because that's what convict leasing was. Convict leasing was when you took an ex-slave in 1865, and because he didn't have a home or address, they call it a vagabond, they then put him back on a plantation and made him work in a chain gang. So when you have the ex-slave sit around your table and give you insight on how you can put these folks back into slavery, that's a slap in the face. And that's what it feels like. It feels like both these people, and it's not about party. It's not about party at all, because we've had a great leader in Bob Ehrlich, a Republican here in Maryland. He was to me, good morning, Sister Nadine Page. Bob Ehrlich was a great leader to me, right? So it's not about party, but it is about how people that's your own race can deceive you and just don't understand that what they do affects the whole. This lady is at the crux of what we see playing out in terms of getting rid of more than 350,000 jobs for African American people in the federal government. So all of what you see that's happening, it's surgical, it's methodical, and it's well thought out. And these African American people are a part of that architecture because they themselves are African American, because they know our experience. They can sit at that table and help to peel away the rights and stuff that people had worked for hundreds of years. When you talk about ending, let's say, the 14th Amendment, right? The 14th Amendment is about citizenship. If you take away the 14th Amendment says that the former slave is a citizen of the United States. So if you take that away, it's a possibility that the African American people here who are descendants of slaves may no longer be considered a citizen in a country. And once you are not a citizen in the United States, you have no rights. You don't have the rights that a citizen have, like due process. If you get arrested, somebody said you did something wrong, you have due process and you are able. Good morning. Hi. And Auntie Gwen is here. She called me Senator Jacket. She always called me Senator Jacket, man. It's so funny. Let me see what brother said. He said, I've seen black folk working in those high positions. Yeah, they do. And sometimes you think that those people who start working in those high positions would help to leverage the playing field. But in fact, those people are actually working against leveling the playing field. Good morning, Miss Sarah. So I just I don't know if it's perplexing to find out that we have this African American woman that helped to produce Project 2025. And if anybody wants a copy of Project 2025, all you got to do is send an email to info@marylandjusticeproject.org, and I will email it to you. It's about 925 pages. It's really long. But so far, they have actually started on page number 1 and have turned the page. They might be in the middle of it. But the Doge, the so-called Doge where Elon Musk had went in there, that was in the plan to get rid of that. Getting rid of the Department of Education, because the Department of Education was created. The Department of Education was created so that there will be equality in education. It was created for that. And now it's gone. Now, there is a long way that we still had to go in terms of equality in education, because I don't want to even suggest that, that equality is here, present, and alive. And just because we voted for Obama don't mean that, we are all the way there. Ms. Crystal said it's a straight house and field mentality. Control and power for a little bone, destroying self and humanity. That's true. They always had that saying. They called them a field. I don't want to say that word. But you have the ones that worked in the field and you had the ones that worked in the house. And usually the ones who worked in the house, like Malcolm X said, when the master gets sick, he say, we sick. When the house burned down, Malcolm X said he trying to blow a window on it. But the house guy, he trying to put the fire out. And a lot of our people, well, not a lot, I would just say a lot of folks are willing to do whatever they need to do so that they can get some scraps off the table, so that they can live what is perceived to be a good life and whatnot. Brother Jerome said, I've seen black folks working in those high position jobs being forced by others to put pressure on their own people so it doesn't look like racism, but it is. Yeah. And that's what it is. So if you got this African American woman and she's sitting around a table and they're saying, well, we feel like, things are reversed and it's reverse racism now. So the majority can't get a job because we are given a job. Hey, Donnell, good morning. Because we are given a job to a black person that's not qualified. So that's what they've been trying to say. They're trying to say that those people in high government only had those jobs because they are black, and that's not true. Those people have PhD degrees, have been studying, and have been doing that work for years. Because many of us know when we came up, our people, I know my folks told me that we have to give 110% in order just to get in the door. We can't even give 100%. We have to give 110% to even be considered for the Secretary of Health, the Secretary of Department of Transportation. So now these African American people are sitting around and putting these laws and policies in place that says that Caucasian people are being discriminated against. Caucasian people having their civil rights violated. So they are taking the laws that was created for equality for people of color and they are reversing it, right? They have the 14th Amendment, so that you guys know the citizenship um, consideration, right? It's been playing out in Supreme Court. And it started in I think it was 1866 or 67. There was an Asian man. His last name is Wu, W-U. And W-U had went to the courts to say that he is a citizen, even though he came from another a country or whatever, right? So that's when it was cemented in law. That's the case that they're going back to, the 1867-69 case, whatever that year was. And it is Wu versus the United States. And they're going back to that, considering foreign-born people considered citizens, right? But me, in my mind, I know that it's not going to stop there. It's not going to stop at the foreign-born individuals because it wasn't even created. That consideration came in when Wu decided to petition the court. But it was created for the ex-slave, because once you're out of slavery, right, they didn't know what to do with you. They was like, let's send them back to Africa. And you're looking like, well, shit, send them where? We don't even remember where we got them from. You know what I mean? You got generations. They just kept, replicating that system. So if I had a baby, then my daughter had a baby, and my daughter had a baby, and my daughter had a baby, like in perpetuity, like you were just a slave until you died. And that is the difference. When people try to talk about, well, my people were slaves, there was nothing like the transatlantic slave trade. And one of the main difference is in the transatlantic slave trade is that you didn't just serve your time during your life. You understand what I'm saying? You died a slave. There was no way of working your way out of that. And most of the time, when it comes to those so-called other people who were slaves, that was considered a servitude, like you owed somebody a debt. If you owe me, let me see, the Confederacy is still alive and well in 2026. They are hitting the Constitution. Yes, they are. Nadine Page. Yes. But the difference again is that those people were able to live alongside the folks that they owed. You know what I'm saying? You owe somebody some money. You live in the same house. You just work your debt off. And that wasn't the same. Brother Marion says, clearly this mentality is part of the Stockholm Syndrome, where an individual identifies and relates more with the oppressor than they do with the oppressed. Very, very true. And we see them every day. Sister Kylie Thomas, good morning. We see some of our entertainers and rappers. And because they are like Lil Wayne and I think Waka Flocka and Nick Cannon, Amber Rose, it used to be Stacey Dash until they used her up. They don't have no more use for her. Stacey Dash and a whole bunch of folks that really think that because you are in a different income bracket, that you can identify and be a part of this crowd. And them folks have been fooled, because Muhammad Ali told the minister, he said, yeah, I'm rich, but I'm just a rich nigga. Excuse my French. And that's what it is. You might be rich or whatever, but you still, that to some people, not all. I definitely won't say all, because I have some beautiful Caucasian friends, and I know they love me, and I love them. And we on the front line with our John Brown hands in the air, and we taking Fort Sumter. You know about Fort Sumter when John Brown went down there to try to free them slaves they had down there, and was fighting against the Confederate Army. The white man was crazy, but it was crazy good. Love it. But anywho, I was saying that the people who are working in this space to help create the notion that the majority actually are having civil rights violated and stuff. The only way that they can come up with because of the Project 2025, man, that thing is well written. And to have all of the people in place is they had to go to people like Kay Coles Jones. Kay Coles Jones herself, she had, let me see, let me get my little paper right here. She went to high school, right? She attended a high school in Virginia. It's called Chandler Junior High School. And then she went to John Marshall High School in Richmond in a largely white environment. This is what they write about her. She is a black woman, but she grew up in a majority of white environment. Maybe that's where her thinking comes from. I don't know. But let me see. Tasha says also others weren't taken far from their home and stripped of their heritage. Yeah, that's right. They weren't. They didn't strip them. We didn't know our language. We didn't know where we came from, our customs. They made sure that you couldn't learn it. That's why they took the drum. When the African guy, they took the drum because they knew we could communicate through the drum and would escape. But anywho, this lady, Kay Coles, she grew up in a majority Caucasian environment, and she went to high school. She went to some high school called John Marshall and some other school. Now, she served on a school board on a conservative evangelical group called Focus on Family. She also was a senior vice president of the Family Research Council, which is a conservative Christian far-right group and a lobbying organization. Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush appointed her as National Children's Commission, and she was also the Assistant Secretary of Drug Control Policies. Now, think about the time. We're talking about Ronald Reagan. This lady been around in the Ronald Reagan administration. Think about Ronald Reagan and Miss Nancy Reagan on television. Just say no to drugs. I remember opening up a box of lemon heads. I even had some lemon heads, Boston baked beans, or some Alexander the Greats. And when I opened it up, I was a little tight, little baby, little kid. When I opened it up, I seen the damn words that say, just say no. I used to open up my Irish potato chip bag and just say no with that was everywhere. It was all on my damn candy, on my now laters. When I went to Highland Park, a junior high school, was all on the walls. That was their slogan. Just say no to drugs. And think about what Ronald Reagan ushered in and George W. Bush during the crack cocaine era. They said that the black people smoking crack deserve 50 years, while the Caucasian people sniffing a little blow, sniffing a little coke, give them a year. And I remember Russell Simmons had came out about they called it the draconian drug law, because they had crack cocaine. They considered it a black person's high, a poor person's high, and you got so much time in prison. Whereas, the uppity folks with a lot of money, they were sniffing blow. And guess who was on the Drug Policy Council at the time? This black woman. She was there. She'd been around for years, since 2001, I believe. She had this position. So what we have is we have people who have been in this system, and we're not realizing that where these policies coming from. It's coming from people that look like me and you. Gwen Levi said, I had to tell a federal judge that black people were never immigrants, no Ellis Island, no Statue of Liberty. True. But think about this lady serving on the conservative Christian right group and a lobbying group called Research Council, the Family Research Council. Wow, Sister Carmen is here. Actually, that's Dr. Carmen. That's Dr. Carmen Johnson from National Court Watch. She's doing some phenomenal work. If you can look Dr. Carmen Johnson up, look her up, volunteer with her organization, man. She a fantastic person. I appreciate you being here and chiming in on this conversation as we discuss some national news and some international news and some local news. But look up these people that I was just telling you about. K. Cole James. Make sure you always bring a pen. Always bring a pen. And also, when you get time, look up the 14th Amendment. And if you have time, like I do in my spare time, I listen to Ketanji, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji, and her dissent from what Justice, Alito and Thomas is saying. Sister Darlene Kane, good morning. I listen to what they're saying because remember I told you everything that happens in this country and in the world starts at the ballot box. It starts at the ballot box. Imagine if these elections had gone another way. And it's not about party. It's really about, do you want people in office that move towards your interests? You know what I mean? Some people vote, people might vote for and say, well, I think that the NAACP should be disbanded. And they vote for the person that promises to get rid of that. So people come to you and they promise and they tell you, our current president told you what he was going to do. He told you we are going to get rid of DEI. And they always use code words. Code words, diversion, equity, and inclusion. You know pretty much what that means. He let you know we're going to get rid of all of them. And on day one, he got rid of more than 350,000 Black women from federal government. And they had been working in these, positions and everything. And people had to fight for that. People had to fight. Let's see what Auntie Gwen said. I bet you didn't stay no candy to say no to that candy. Yeah, I ain't gonna say no to no candy. Yes. Oh, Sister Vivian Randall, man. She from the West Coast too, man. These people are up early. They are up early to join us right here in Baltimore. I appreciate you. Definitely write that down, the 14th Amendment. And actually look at the 14th Amendment. And don't forget that case that I told you about. His name was Wu, W-U, because that is where the whole idea that being born here makes you a citizen. Being born here makes you a citizen, right? So again, the argument is supposed to be about foreign-born people. But it really is more than that. It's about the former slave. Don't be fooled. It's about the former slave. And do the former slave have rights? Is the former slave an actual citizen in this country? So what they do is they take away a little bit of it, right? A little bit. So the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Supreme Court slowly peeled that away. One of the first things they did was they said that Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Louisiana, and a few other of those states who were known Confederate states. In fact, Tennessee is where the Ku Klux Klan was born. That's where its birthplace is, right? But they told these folks, the Supreme Court said that those states no longer had to report on their voting rights efforts. And that kept them from discriminating and doing stuff, making them do poll taxes, right? In order for African American to vote in the past, they might have, I'm gonna show y'all my organic blue agave. They might have this thing right here. it'll be filled with jelly beans, and they would say, "Look here, boy, how many jelly beans in here?" And then they can vote. Or they would do what they call a poll tax, and that meant that they had to actually pay. And people was poor. They didn't have no jobs, still working on a plantation. Sometimes they would pay them, sometimes they wouldn't. If you complained about pay, they might lynch you. So you had to just say, "I hope you're in a good mood, give me my money." But they put that in 1965 Voting Rights Act that passed so that people can actually have the right to vote. They lynched you, they murdered you. If you talked about voting, you could get murdered. And people actually had to fight and die. And the children now, they don't understand what took place to get us here. And they take it for granted. Oh man, they can go in their little Gucci store now. They can go and get their Pradas, and they can go and live in these places. They can get these good jobs, and they take it for granted. It's because nobody is allowing those lessons to be transferred to the next generation. And unfortunately, they have taken it out of schools. They have banned the books. They don't want to hear about it. Anything having to do with African American citizens here and their journey, they don't want to learn about it because they say that teaching this stuff harms Caucasian children. And if you really look at the forward-thinking people, that's not true, because my friend Tia Hamilton has a bookstore on Greenmount Avenue called the Urban Book Reads. And it is so many Caucasian mothers that come in there and buy these little books with Black children on the front of it for their Caucasian children. The children don't learn racism unless we teach it to them. The other reason why, besides Black cooperation, because there's always some Black people that's helping white folks to put us in a jam, right? But the other way that racism persists is they teach their children hate. In the South, man, I've seen a couple of them. I be putting that stuff on Facebook. I've seen a couple of videos where the man say, "That's just the way it is. I'm this way. I'm going to teach my children how to be that way. We don't want to live around no niggers. We don't want them in our schools. And if they come here, we're going to kill them." And they take that and pass it on to generation after generation. You would think that once that generation died out, that, it will be gone. The other thing is that they had mentioned that the people who tried to overthrow this country during the Civil War, they never paid a price. They was never arrested. They was never brought up on treason. They never were arrested. So they just went back to their normal lives, and they still had the Ku Klux Klan robes. Some of them still have it. In fact, I saw a story where somebody was in a courthouse, cleaning out the courthouse, and found a Klan robe. I be finding so much stuff, man. I swear, I wish y'all was my neighbor. We would be out the window talking. Girl, I find so much information. That's the beauty of this internet and social media and the way that we communicate now. There's a downside, and it is definitely a downside to it. But it's so much information. But now that they have gotten rid of the Black lady that was the head of the Library of Congress, they have gone in there and are just taking everything away. Information that they have been developing for hundreds and hundreds of years. The Library of Congress is where you could do a lot of research, but they have, this current administration have put somebody else in charge, and there was a group of people who were trying to preserve American history because it's an ugly history, but it's a history that we can learn from. It's a history that we can learn from and teach our children, Black children, white children, Jewish children, it doesn't matter. If we learn from that and earnestly want to move forward from where we are, then it would be a blessing. But they are actually erasing it. They're getting rid of that. So you won't be able to research that stuff. Ms. Sarah Matthews said we must continue to teach our children our story. I agree. And it gets exhausting, right? I know some Black people that say that I'm sick of talking about slavery. I'm sick of it. And they have this new term. It's called, I think it's called black exhaustion. It's a new term. And people use that term when they say, I'm just sick of talking about racism. And people should be sick of it. But I know I can't afford to be tired. I have to constantly talk about it. Otherwise, it will go away. If they can get rid of these stories, like Sister said, we have to constantly talk about it. Because every day we're learning more and more and more about what actually happened. And the effort is to get rid of those stories, that history, so that nobody will know. So in 50 years from now, people would never know how horrible some Caucasian people were. And that's just the truth. That is the difficult truth, that they wanted to go away because they don't want their grandchildren to know that, your granddaddy was a part of a lynching. They don't want their because some of them still alive. One lynching just happened in 1981. Recently, they have a lot of the Black Lives Matter advocates that's been coming up different places, hanging from a tree that's impossible for him to put himself on. Sister Nadine say knowledge is powerful. And thank you for imparting knowledge into our community through this podcast. Yes, ma'am. To God be the glory. And this is a difficult subject, trust me. Sister Bennett says she will never be sick of talking about the harm that slavery has inflicted on the Black community. Yeah, because to be honest, do we ever get sick of talking about the Holocaust? No, and we shouldn't. Do we ever get sick of seeing movies like Schindler's List and those different movies? No, and we should not. We constantly have to have that stuff out in the opening, because this will cause people to want to change, possibly. And if we show it to the children, the Caucasian children go home and say, why did they kill Martin Luther King? Why did they kill him, mommy? And the mom can explain that there were some, bad people that had the wrong idea about what God wants from us. So I don't think we should insulate no children. I think we should be honest with them, because they are the ones who, all right, God, come on now. I think we should teach the children so that they can see what it means to not be like that. You ever have people around you that do stuff, you say, damn, why are he acting like that? You disapprove of that person's actions, but that person's, because we learn every day. We learn what to do and what not to do. If you see somebody stick their hand in a fire and they damn hands get burnt, you look at them and you say, well, I ain't going to do that. He got his damn fingers got burnt. So it teaches you what to do and what not to do. And I think that we should collectively, as a human family, I think collectively we should work to preserve the history of Baltimore, of Maryland, and of this country and of the world. And I think that we should continue to teach it and continue to make movies about it and continue to raise our voices so that we can see some things change, That's what I want. That's what I want God to do for us, is to bring us together and try to move forward and get on the right track, man. I'm telling you, it's tough. It's tough to still be a child growing up in a country that seemed like they always hated you for no reason, except that you are a different color. That's difficult for children to have to see, feel, and face. So if people think Caucasian children are going to feel guilty, because that's what they say, it makes their children feel guilty. Imagine what the victim of that feel like. Imagine what an 8-year-old baby that's being called the N-word. They had a teacher that put a doll baby with a noose around their neck and hung it in a classroom. I just seen that yesterday. Imagine, and the little children had sense enough, the 14-year-old had sense enough to videotape it so she couldn't lie and deny it. They just had an autistic baby, a young, beautiful black child, and his teacher grabbed him and choked him, called him the N-word, and he just sat there, and the mother, oh God, you could hear the hurt in this lady's voice that this happened to her beautiful baby. And this child is nonverbal. She put a camera in the child's head because she knew something was wrong. It was caught on tape. She had in his little dreadlocks. It was recorded. Imagine the pain. Her baby, nonverbal, innocent, did nothing. Anyway, this stuff getting deep, man. Oh God. I'm going to move. We got about 4 more minutes. I done talked y'all ears off, and thank you for commenting. But listen, in the future, when we do the little mashup where we have a conversation that's just me and you, we are actually going to have a phone line. I told you guys we're working on a phone line. So you will be able to not only just put your stuff in the chat, but you will be able to call in. You will be able to call in, and we'll have this these honest conversations, right? And for the last few minutes, I'm going to just go locally. It's election season. It's election season, man. And things heat up. Things get ugly. People go to their prospective corners. But ultimately, it don't matter who you vote for. Again, Republican, Independent, Democrat, it don't matter. I know what my opinion is, but I don't put my opinion on people. I know where I like to spend my money at, if you will. But one thing I'm going to share with you that I shared with Gwen Levi, and she always liked to repeat it. On election day, I am Elon Musk. On election day, I am Elon Musk. And the reason being is because he gets one vote. That is the one day out of the year that I am equal to everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Good to see you, Sister Salima. Good to see you. Sister Salima said, I'm so glad she recorded it because they need to be in beyond big trouble for that. Yeah, they should be beyond big trouble, right? Because to be honest with you, Brother Malcolm said that no people will be free without violence. No people will be free without violence, right? We are the only people who have a non-violent march. We watch it. We watch Iraq, Iran. We watch these people bomb each other, kill each other to try to be free of the oppression. No war in history or no oppressed people has ever gotten free without physical violence. So, I mean, people should consider themselves blessed. Imagine if one day we decided that we ain't taking it no more and we're going to rise up with guns and knives and bats, and that would be crazy, right? But fortunately, the former slaves have always believed in the power of God. And they always believed that God would deliver them. And as my grandmother would say, take us into Jordan. We're going into campground. And they are fortunate, the oppressor, and the people who attack our children and do things wrong, because the Bible do say a life for a life and an eye for an eye. I interpret that as, all right, God, get them, because I ain't gonna do it. I pray, I said, get every one of them. But on a different note, locally, it's election time, right? And I pray that everybody on here, I pray that you are registered to vote. June the 11th through June the 18th is early voting. And you can register during the early vote. You can register during the early vote. Don't let these folks take our vote away from us, because that's what they want to do. And don't let them continue to convince you that your vote don't matter. They wouldn't be working so hard to take it if it mattered. It does matter. They wouldn't work so hard to gerrymander the Louisiana. In Louisiana, they have no black representation now. None. And in Tennessee, the one black district, they just got rid of it. So I don't know what their policies would look like, but I can't imagine that they would be in favor of equality because they never have, right? But anywho, I want you guys to be conscious of these upcoming elections because they're really important. And I pray that everybody vote. And I think possibly next week, because we've had some elected officials here. If y'all know any Republicans that want to come on this show, let me know. You can go to info at Maryland Justice Project because we want to bring everybody on. We want to hear from everybody to see what they is. And this is a nonpartisan show. It don't matter to me. As long as you are a good, decent, God-fearing person working for the good of human beings, I rock with you. And if you're not, I don't fool with you. But yeah, pay attention to these upcoming elections. Pay attention. We'll have that discussion possibly next Saturday. And we have had 41st district candidates, 40th district candidates. We've had candidates from Prince George's County on this show. And when we have our live taping, where we're going to be enjoying food and fun, it is free. I mean, naturally, if you can, give a donation, we will accept that donation. But this is free to celebrate Senate Bill 187. Senate Bill 187 is named after yours truly. It is the Monica Coopers Act. It's a bill that I have been working on for a decade. For 10 long years, I have been working to get a woman's halfway house back open. Finally, it happened. We're going to be celebrating with my friends from Montgomery County, from ACLU, from, all over Out for Justice, name it. Because we've had, the Deltas, we had Sigma Gamma Rho, we have had 100 Black Women, the National Coalition of, the United National Coalition for Negro Women. We've had so many people to join us in this fight. And we got enough room for everybody and enough good food. So come through. We're going to be at the B&O Railroad, and all of our previous guests will be here. We're going to have Dr. Tunes there. Y'all remember him, the Bad Bitch Anonymous. Excuse my French. That's what our brother calls it. It's a really interesting concept that he came up with, right? We're going to have Senator Delegate Ruff. Who we had? Senator Coy McCray. We've had our sister from PG County is going to be there. She running for clerk of the court. And there'll probably be some other people. Our sponsors in the bill, Senator Mary Washington will be there. Delegate Crutchfield from Montgomery County will be there. I'm trying to get Senator Ferguson to actually come through, president of the Senate here. It's going to be everybody that's ever been on the show. Our sister Sarah Matthews is going to be on the show. That live taping. So let's get together. It's 1:03. I'm not crying anymore. I hope Donnell's not here. Because sometimes the stuff get me emotional. And I just say, come on, God, get me through this. And he managed to get me through it. But it's out of love. Award is had today. It's because I am in love with human beings. And I know the potential of a human family. I know that God will get us on the right track. It's just been so hard and difficult for me to witness in my little bit of time on this earth. It's been hard to watch what human beings do to one another. And I'm always trying to get closer to my Lord and Savior. Inshallah, God is pleased with me. And I love y'all. Thank you for listening to me talk for like a whole hour. And share this link. Share the link. Let other people tune in, man. I will see y'all next Saturday. Thank you for tuning into track number 9. And no crying. Let's just get up and fight. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
We inspire greatness at track number 9. Stay on the right track and let your light shine. Step by step, reach for what's true. Track number 9, your greatness is waiting.